I'm here with Tim Oehlers. How you doing, man?
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Thanks for coming over and doing the podcast.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
Glad I could be here with you, Mark.
Yeah. So let's go back. Let's go back to when you get started in music. How'd you get started?
Well, what happened was, I guess the very beginning of my story would be hearing my dad's record albums when I was real young. He had a console stereo, and he would come home from work and play records.
Yeah.
And his father was a classically trained violinist that actually played on WSPD radio back in the late 20s. When he was in his mid-teens, he actually was considered Toledo's most promising violinist. They had a write-up about him, and he went and played a concert at the Peristyle at the Art Museum. And then my mom's family's all from Kentucky, so there's a gospel Baptist upbringing that I had where I heard all that music, and they were a lot more musical than just my dad's side. My dad's side was just my grandfather.
Yeah.
My dad tried playing piano, and he got the hang of it, but then he didn't fall in love with it like my grandfather and like myself. So I'm a combination of that. And my dad would come home from work also, and out in Rossford where he worked, there was a lot of bars. So he'd stop there, and then when he'd get home, he ended up getting a marine band harmonica, and I started hearing that at night after me and my two brothers go to bed. You'd hear the harmonica. And live, that's the first live music I heard. My father just tooting away on it.
Yeah.
Found out where it was when he was working, started messing around with it, and that led to me hearing more music. And
so the harmonica was the intro. That was the first instrument
with me. Still have a very special relationship with that instrument in a sense because of that.
Yeah. That's one I've messed around with them, but I've never been able to figure out what I'm actually doing with it. It's more of just making noises, I guess.
I think what was great about it is I've developed right away a way to hear music because of not seeing what I'm doing when I was playing it. So it developed my ear instantly, and then it took me a little while to realize that I could hear music in my head. Like I can play, when I taught guitar, I would teach the students what I call the built-in radio, where when you're not with an instrument, I can hear music. I can start up a song, and I can actually play a whole song in my brain, especially after hearing some of them,
Yeah.
So I developed that skill. And then it was when I was about 15, I started hearing a lot of different songwriters like Bob Dylan, John Fogerty, John Lennon. I heard Paul McCartney, but I drifted towards John Lennon more.
Was this mostly from your dad's record collection?
Yeah,
Yep.
My dad was pretty hip. He had Who's Next by The Who. He had Beatles 65, which I still have his album. It's like my sort of prized possession, my father's album.
Yeah.
And it's the one that was in the best condition. He didn't play the daylights out of it. He played them records a lot. And then, hearing that, I heard the guitar, and then I started asking my parents for one, and it took them a little while, and then they finally got me one as a Christmas gift between the ages of 15 and 16.
That was your first guitar?
Mm-hmm. It was a K acoustic guitar. It was not a well-made instrument, and when I got it, I got very discouraged right away, and it turned out this because I didn't know that it didn't play as well.
Oh.
And the strings started coming up. My mom had a Coricidin bottle, and I saw it, and I had at that point heard the Allman Brothers and Ry Cooder, so I learned how to tune it to an open chord, and so within the first couple years I was playing, due to that, I was playing slide guitar. So I almost started out as a slide guitar player because
Just
of the
because
guitar.
you didn't actually know what you were doing, and the guitar was.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
I was trying, I guess, almost desperately to make music on it. And I
Yeah.
got so discouraged after that Christmas because of that quickly happening to that guitar. I put it down and was like thinking this isn't going to happen. And then the following May, I went and I grabbed the neck of that guitar like as I just grabbed it one day. And in my mind, I thought, I'm not going to let this beat me. Because in my mind, I really loved music. And I knew if I learned piano or guitar, it would be a way of accompanying myself to know, like I could play with the record albums and stuff.
Yeah.
So she gave me a laminated chord sheet. The first chord I learned was G major, which is the first chord I show any of my guitar students. And what's crazy special about that is that every time I show someone that chord, it takes me right back, almost 45 years ago to when I first remember playing that chord.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's really cool.
Yeah, it's like a connection.
Yeah.
That
My discouraging story from guitar was I gave up when I first started because it hurt my fingers, which I think that's the case with a lot of people.
I as a teacher, I figured out something on that.
Yeah?
Later in life, I put nickel electric guitar strings on acoustic guitars. And when I was teaching at a place in South Toledo called Penguin Music, I'll never forget the owner of the store. His name was Larry Oberhue. I took the guitar up and said, put electric guitar strings on this. He goes, and it was a student guitar sort of too, younger person, a littler person. He said, no, you can't do that. I said, please put them on there. And he put them on there, and the student could play, and it alleviated what you were talking about. And when he saw that, it blew his mind because he thought, oh, wow, because it would keep the students coming because they wouldn't get discouraged about it.
Yeah.
And it was just something I thought of. I thought, well, I don't want them to leave just because the strings feel too hard for their fingertips.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that makes sense. My mom plays guitar, and that's one of the things. She always played electric guitar, but she would always complain when she'd switch to an acoustic because the strings on acoustic are generally thicker and more difficult to push down than the electrics. But that's a really cool idea to put electric strings on an acoustic like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing about the Spanish or the nylon string guitars, those strings are more supple too. They're easier to play.
Yeah,
but then that instrument always had a wider neck. So the hands, over the time, in my lifetime, I've seen them develop guitars like that little Martin you have that you own, like something like that. Because I thought that would be something very beneficial to human beings in general, to have different size necks and different ways for anyone to play. Because when I was younger, I would see some guitarists, might be one of the reasons I became a teacher, I would see them get really discouraged right away because they couldn't play just one chord.
Yeah.
And that bothered me, because I remember telling you my backstory about my experience. I guess what I'm saying is I never wanted what happened to me from that point on to happen to anyone else.
Yeah.
So I did something about that.
Yeah. It does seem like it's a big turning point when you actually get a chord down and you can start doing a strumming pattern. Like I remember when one of the first ones I learned was E minor, just because it's so simple, just two strings there.
The first chords always are, years ago, they call it the CAGED CAGED system. And it just has to do with the shape of those open position chords that have open strings on them, like G, A, C, A, G, E, and D, the major chords.
Yeah.
Because they're in a lot of...
And once you get those, a lot of songs
minor
are
ones,
just those three different chords in those.
And the minor ones, the minor ones are just one note difference where you don't play it a little different. You just move one note.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was within the first year, I was playing songs.
Yeah.
Within the first year until the strings came up. I could play Knocking on Heaven's Door. I could play Jambalaya. Just got 2 chords. I would figure out songs. Being half hillbilly helped me because I would figure out they would see my great aunts and my grandmother, my mom, they would know. 'Cause my mom, the first year I played, she didn't say much, okay? And then one day she came up because I went up in the bedroom. I didn't want no one hearing me. It was like a lot of people are very private about it when you're trying to learn because you're not good.
Right.
Yet,
not very confident either. So,
and she come up one day and she just looked over and said, "It's sounding better, honey."
Oh.
That's all she said.
Yeah.
And she also did something. She was pivotal, too, because she was the one who, out of my parents, that was the most prominent about getting me a guitar. I'll never forget the way she was watching at that Christmas morning when I saw that big brown box. She was completely dialed in.
Yeah.
So that guitar had more to do with that than it did how well it played. And I realized that, too. Yeah. Even though that went wrong with the guitar, it was not her fault.
Yeah,
and when I picked the guitar up the first time and was practicing, learning the G chord and the D and A minor and stuff, she come up and I was playing left-handed. I'm left-handed. I'm playing like Albert King or Jimi Hendrix, holding it the other way. She walked in the room and walked right up to me with both her hands and flipped it over in my lap and looked right at me, straight in the eyes, and said, "Honey, learn it that way, because right now, at this point in time, they're not making many guitars for people who play left-handed or the other way like that."
Yeah. So you're left-handed, but you play right-handed.
Yeah, there's many people that.
Yeah. I actually knew another guy that did that. I was in a band with before.
It's sort of I think a little bit of in some ways, it might be a little bit of an advantage with my left hand on the fretboard.
Yeah.
But then the disadvantage is I don't have the natural right-hand technique that a lot of guys who learn to play with a pick that can play a lot faster. I don't have that. I've never naturally had the ability to create any kind of picking ability, like let's say Yngwie Malmsteen or any of them guys that can play really skilled with their right hand. That's something I've just not had. I've tried at it, but it just doesn't feel and seem natural to me.
Yeah. Have you tried in your later years of playing? Have you tried flipping it over and trying the other way?
Yeah. I could teach myself how to do it.
Yeah.
A crazy idea one time I had, which is I think it's I'll never forget. I had a vision in my head of being the first guitar player. You know how all the guys tap with 2 necks going each way, and playing the guitar, have a guitar position with a belt strapped to the base of the guitar around my waist to hold the 2 necks steady while I'm playing.
Yeah.
And play at the same time with both hands, tapping.
Yeah.
Have because they put the strings low enough nowadays, you'll see a bunch of them, they can do a lot with just the fretting hand.
Right.
Which would be, I've never seen it before. I've watched all these years to see if somebody's ever done that. But I thought
America's Got Talent just got started. It sounds like a great idea.
Yeah, maybe. Wouldn't that be something? Though?
Yeah.
Oh.
No, that sounds really cool. So you mentioned you're teaching guitar. Did you ever take lessons as a kid, or was it more just teaching yourself? Or
on a couple, it was more of me teaching myself. But when I was young, I went to the same store out in the Woodville Mall in Woodville, Ohio, called Grinnell Brothers, and found a teacher. His name was Larry. I recently recorded a song, an instrumental guitar song called Larry, and he's just one of many Larrys. I've met a lot of guys named Larry in my life. I don't know how to explain that.
Yeah.
But
I've
that's
met
just
very
a little,
few,
side note, at least 30 of them right now off the top of my head. But it's just...
I think I've met maybe one.
Yeah.
And then I know of Larry Bird.
Yeah, Larry Bird. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a great Larry.
Wow, that is kind of a weird thing that you've met so many.
And I went to the lessons, and I wanted to learn a Neil Young song. I was listening to Harvest. I had sort of started to try to play Needle and the Damage Done because I knew D and I knew some of the chords I could tell he was going through, the E minor. Mm-hmm. And the guy wanted to show me the book, open the book, da, 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 da. Here's E, C, F, and G on the E string. And then he's trying to get me to read the notes. And at the time, being in my sort of mid-late teens, the first lesson, I just went along with it. But then when I went back, I was trying to be, my parents raised me to be respectful. And I said, could you please teach me a Neil Young song, like to help me with the chords and stuff? And he insisted that I needed to do his stuff first, like he wanted me to do what he wanted me to do. It must have been his way of teaching. And I quickly got very disinterested in the lessons, and
kind of sucked the fun out of it, huh?
It did. And that's another thing that shaped my approach to teaching, probably subconsciously in a way, because I didn't know I was going to be a teacher. And he didn't seem to feel what I was feeling. I wanted to play a song, and then I want to learn whatever the notes are once I can play, and maybe even begin to think about singing with the guitar. Because that, like I said, my family's from the South. They just play.
Yeah.
And it was just something I would see, and I would know when I was around them. I'd say, they just do that. They didn't get taught to do that. So if they can do it, maybe I can do it.
Yeah.
That
does seem like it's a little bit discouraging for young students if you're learning guitar, but you're not really playing songs that you're interested in. If you're playing, written notes or just scales and things like that, it can get probably pretty boring, I would imagine. Especially when you're just starting out,
It's something that, just like with the guitar story, now this with the lessons, it's almost parallel to where I thought to myself when I started teaching lessons, because that store I told you about out in South Toledo, the other guy that worked there named Lance Saminsky saw me at a record album show and said, Tim, we could, I'd lost my job that I was working at, and the place closed, and he said, hey, Tim, we could use a couple more guitar teachers. And I thought, I've never thought about that. Maybe I could do that. But then I thought about it for a while. Then I accepted the opportunity, and I thought right out of the gate, as soon as they walk through the door, I want them to know a song. I want them to relate to music through a song that they really like. And if I can come to an agreement with them with a simple one, as maybe 1 to 3 chords that they relate to. And it worked for me.
Yeah.
And all the students were very, very excited that we were playing a song.
Right.
And it would put them on the spot. I could easily tell the following week, if they were practicing, if they could even switch the chords and keep up with me a little bit better to get through the song. And then I remember one of the other things is how many of the students over the 32 years I taught could not play Happy Birthday. Happy Birthday has 3 chords, and every human being in the world relates to that song in some way or another. They've either sang it. It's one of I call one of the universal songs. And I thought, as a teacher, it was very important that they knew how to play something at least like that, because I remember another story about that is the grandparents and the uncles and the parents, when you say you're going to take a guitar lesson, when you come home, if they're helping pay for it, if they care about it, they're going to say, well, what song can you play?
Right.
That's what mine did. My dad and my mom would, well, what song do you know? They didn't, the technique, all the notes, whatever, the physical thing, it's not like it wasn't important. But I understood where they were coming from. Mm-hmm. Music's about rhythm, about getting through like a road map of chords. Even if someone else is singing, when I'd have students that didn't sing, I would sing. And I would not play, and I'd force them to keep up with me when I was singing. And if they messed up or something, I would tell them the best thing to do is to learn to play past that. don't sit there and think about that you screwed up. Just keep going. You know, it worked for me. I would say modestly that it was very successful, because there's a number of my students out playing now, and I also tell people when it comes to that I don't feel I'm ever fully responsible for their talent. So like if I go out and one of them says, well, Tim taught me how to play the guitar, I grin because they know how I am. I said, no, I was just your tour guide. Basically, it's not, you have to play the guitar. I didn't teach you how to hold it and your personal relationship with it. I just showed you a few things to get you on that road to play. You know?
Yeah. So you said you've been you were teaching for quite a few years, 32 years?
32. I started back up recently too.
Yeah. So how long had you been playing when you started teaching guitar? Was it
about 12 years or so, maybe going on 13. One of the things I'll share is that when I first started out, one of my goals was to be able to play with as many different people as possible, no matter what the style of music was. So I did, at different points in my development, learn how to play, like with the album by Bob Marley and the Wailers, you know, Stir It Up, them kind of song. I'm just using one example.
Yeah, like the Reggae Island type vibe.
Then I'd put on a Hank Sr. record or recording and play songs like Your Cheatin' Heart. And then I would put on Revival or Melissa by the Allman Brothers, play right with that. I've never had any kind of separation with musical styles from beginning, and it has simply to do with the fact that besides wanting to get through a complete song right away, I wanted to play with a bunch of other musicians, to the point where I learned how to read music eventually and play through a lot of chord changes that are like in jazz or standard songs too. They have a lot more chords. So I took a period of time and I studied with a guy from Perrysburg, a well-known teacher and instrumentalist named Gene Parker, for about a year and a half, and he just put names to things that I was doing and showed me some ideas, like past that a little bit.
A little bit of guitar theory type stuff.
It was, well, what's something is if the only instrument, almost the only instrument Gene didn't play. He played bass guitar, he could play chromatic harmonica, piano, vibes, all the saxophones, flute. As far as playing all the different instruments, he's the Mac Daddy of the 419. He can play anything. And but him knowing about music theory was important in my lessons with him. Plus, he was real funny, and our personalities clicked together. He's like an uncle in a sense, and a nephew relationship, and it still is, you know. But he helped me out a lot, and I think in part it's another reason besides what happened to me when I was starting to take guitar lessons. He's another little reason why I wanted to teach, because I wanted to experience the happiness that and the learning situation that I was having with him, with others.
Right.
He helped me with that a lot. He also helped me when I lost my job tremendously. I went to his house, and I was at a point in my life where I had to make a decision, you know, right when I was starting to teach guitar, and I went to his house, and he, like a father, told me that this is it. He said, I worked at Champion Sparkplug for years. The day I left that place to try to play music full time, he told me that he never looked back. And that meant a lot to me. My own father didn't do that at the time. Not to say anything disparaging about my father, but he's never really encouraged me. Mm-hmm. And he doesn't come to my shows. He's different kind of a person. But back when I was learning, I don't know if he even realized the impact he had on me with the albums he had. I think he probably does. Yeah. You know, he was always good about us, or me and my brothers, becoming our own person. He didn't tell us, don't do that or don't do this. My father was real good about that. Yeah. He would just sit back and watch. And I know he was a typical father wondering, well, how are you going to play music for a living? And then I eventually figured a way to do it. And he notices it, but I guess I'd say German, where he doesn't say a whole lot about it, and he just looks at me. That's just how their nature is.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, different generation, different.
very much.
Was he actually an immigrant from Germany, or was he started in America?
Actually, his father and their family, the Oehlers family, is from Holland. They're Dutch. And
okay.
And over there it's pronounced Oehlers, according to my grandfather. His mom is German. Last name is Miller. So he's a mixture of Dutch-German, you know. And everybody that knows I guess the atypical personality of men from over there is they're no hugging, just at the very, you know, they can look at you, and that's probably the closest you'll get to them seeing that they love you.
Yeah.
You know? My grandfather got real close with me because I played. I would go to his house, and he would just tell me stories. So he helped fuel my love for music, too. It had a lot to do with a number of sources.
Yeah.
My mom's aunt was a very talented musician. Her name was Janie Johnson, and she sang, played the guitar, played the piano. I think she even played harmonica a little bit. But I would go to the family reunions on my mom's side of the family, and she would be there, and she was really something how she knew I just started playing, and she would just look at me in front of all of them. Say, go get your guitar. Just because she just knew, even if I screwed up, she just would want me, and she wanted me to be involved.
Yeah.
And it's like, I can't begin to tell you how important that was.
So was that would you say that's the beginning of your live shows, playing just in front of your family?
It was.
Yeah.
And I also played close to where I grew up in North Toledo. There's a park over there. Well, it's called Jamie Farr Park now, but it was called Riverside Park. And I was playing in my bedroom. My dad got on me one day and said, you need to go outside, because it was nice out, but I'm in my bedroom playing my guitar on a nice day. So he had a point. So we had a stoop, cement slabs, and I went out front and started playing. And then I noticed the girls in our neighborhood were walking by. So then, you know, I would play what I knew best.
Yeah.
You know, I was just sort of pulling it together, thinking, yeah. And then from there, I left there a couple blocks over to the park and would sit on the picnic bench. And within time, I had, you know, other persons that I grew up with and I lived over there, younger people around me, requesting songs. Then, from there, they would invite me to their homes. So I was doing house concerts before they called them that. They would feed me, you know, and then it got to the point where they would seriously get upset sometimes if I didn't show up without my guitar. You know, they were getting free entertainment in a sense, right? But they were close friends with me. And then that's when I started thinking about it. I said, well, you know, maybe I should try my hand at this.
Yeah.
And try to find places to play that would pay me. And then one thing led to another. And yeah, I became a semi-professional musician. I had a day gig. And then my wife and I worked at the same place. That place closed. And from that moment on, I would say that's when my full-time teaching and performing job began.
Yeah.
I had 2 children at the time, you know.
Yeah. I noticed I noticed from your schedule you're very busy today doing a lot of solo stuff, and then you occasionally have a drummer with you or bass or people coming along. Has most of your live playing kind of been in the solo realm, or have you played with a lot of bands? And
well, I've played before. I want to say let's say about 6 years ago or so. I played almost always in bands or in like duos and stuff.
Yeah,
and it just had that means of happening because they seem to have more money that they could pay more people back then in a sense, I think.
Yeah.
But now
Well, I've heard that from a lot of people that, you know.
Yeah, but now it's like, it's almost like the money. Let's put it this way: the money's never changed. In my perspective, as a man who's played 44 years in Toledo and around Toledo, the money has never really changed.
Hasn't kept up with inflation or
No,
anything. Then,
no, it has not in general. So, and with people, all the younger ones that I know and love that play around town, if they ever talk to me about that, I assure them that they're getting paid as well as, there's a lot more places to play, and they're getting paid every bit as well as I did when I was their age. I'm an encourager with all of them.
Yeah.
I always tell them that's how it's always been. So, just roll with that.
It's a weird business in that you're essentially working for a bunch of different bosses. Like every venue's kind of got their own booking person and their own. That's the person who's kind of. You're there to impress so you can get rehired. So it's almost fragmented in that there's not like a coalition of venue owners that are all together.
Never
saying,
has
this is
been.
what we pay people. It's always so every venue. It's like a new boss that you have to figure out what they pay, if they pay anything, if it's just
It's I call it, I've joked with people that I should write a book and call it creative begging. It's not a bad term. I mean, what other word could you use besides begging? But creative, freelancing, or begging means you want something. You want something, and they know you want something. But I also have the fortune of being from a family of men that are in business. So I know business well enough from being around them and having experiences like what you talk with all different places. And Toledo's never really had, over the years, they've had a couple situations where booking takes place. People do booking. There's a woman, friend of mine, Andrew Ellis's wife, she books people to play some places around town now. But over the years, there hasn't been many people to do that. They had booking agencies.
Like booking agencies.
Yeah, they had a couple years ago for bands that played like clubs and stuff where they made money and they were booking, but there wasn't near as many performance or gig opportunities as there are nowadays.
Yeah.
So I learned from then, because I didn't really play like Loverboy and all those songs they were playing, some of the band. I started out playing like ZZ Top, Neil Young, and that kind of stuff, grunge music before they said grunge. I wore the flannel shirts. I had long hair. I guess I would say I was Neil Young's slightly younger brother in Toledo. And I did all that back then and just learned to deal with each person I met. And I noticed from a business and personal standpoint, I would try to develop a friendship with them. And every person that I worked for where it was successful, I became friends with them. They knew that I viewed it as more than the music, and I still do that. Like when I go to places and play, what's more important to me is my relationship with that person and all the servers that work at the place, because I feel strongly that I'm one of them. I become an employee. I want to get along with the servers. I want to provide music, be it cover tunes or my own stuff, that the audience can tell that are there to listen and enjoy it, that I'm a servant towards them. I want them to know that I want them, I'm sharing what I have with them. The place is paying me, but I still want to be regarded the same as the employees that work there. And I have a tendency, which I work at, to get along really well with the people who work at the places.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's definitely got to be important to, make good connections with the people. And
it's very important.
They say networking is always the key to a lot of different businesses. So I can imagine with the music business isn't any different.
I'm still willing to learn and be flexible about networking. The internet in the last 3 years through like Facebook, all the years I've been booking myself, it's it's astounding to me how much easier and how much I'm be able to play just through having that quicker means of getting booked.
You can
and
just show people like, here's where I'm at, and
and what's something else now too is on Facebook when you get on there, and I've told younger musicians, when you see a venue, like if you see an event, you can click on that name, and they have a send message box, and all you have to do is just reach out basically and say, hey, when are you having music, or just find out what it would take maybe to be considered.
Yeah.
It's just that first step is just find out if
just making contact.
Yeah, just find out, because a lot of the songwriters that are doing the concerts that I'm hosting, I want, they all know me well enough. I want them to play. I have a strong heart about getting the younger ones.
Yeah, that's the up close concerts you're talking about, which I was fortunate enough to play.
Yeah,
thanks for having me out.
Yeah,
at the music go round. Yeah. You want to talk a little bit about that? It seems like, how long ago did you get started at that?
That actually, the thought process of it started years ago, because there was a guy in town here named Frankie Smith that tried to do an original music thing like that, and he couldn't make it fly. But then, and a couple other times they've tried that. But then Miriam Wagner, who opened her venue called the Art and Performance Center of West Toledo, she approached me one day and told me, I play some of the senior residences during the daytime, and she works at one of them, and she approached me about that she was going to open that place, and she asked me about music, and that's when like a light bulb went off over my head about original music artists.
Yeah.
And it also keeps her from having to pay the copyrights if people do cover songs. And I discussed that with her. I said, well, if you have an art center, you can bypass having to pay that money, because if they all do their own music, they can't say anything to you. So it seemed appealing to both of us. And me knowing probably out of the gate so many of them, I brought it to their attention, and it just took off. And even though what's great about the events too, or the concerts, is they're more art based. I mean, a lot of the performers will come out, and their families will show up, and some of their close friends, and that's seemingly, from what I've noticed, every concert, including yours. It's just, I can't begin to tell you how special it is for the people that are there. But I would be remiss if I didn't say I'd like to see more people attend them, but you can't tell people what to do.
Yeah.
So I just keep
really
going.
Cool. It's a very intimate atmosphere. And so you do the Art and Performance Center, that's on Sundays. Is that every Sunday, or is it?
It's normally every Sunday. We miss a few of them depending on the holidays, and sometimes vacations a little bit, but other than that, most Sundays. And then the ones at the Music Go Round store that Gary Wagner runs, they're on some Wednesdays, and they're just sort of spotty. They maybe 2 a month, something like that.
What number are we up to now, as far as?
Yesterday was number 80.
Wow.
Yeah, since last April.
Now, have you done any repeat performers?
There's been now, I would say so far, it's starting to lap. I'd say about 4 or 5 of them now have played a second show.
So just a few.
And what I'm trying to do now is, and it's going to take some thought, and I'm going to have to book out farther or just make them wait a little bit more. I want to, like yourself, and some of them that have played at the music store, I want them to come over and play at the Performance Center.
Ah.
The Performance Center has...
I'm playing there on Saturday.
Yeah, doing the...
That'll be...
for the fundraiser?
Yeah, for Drew.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess...
That's what was something about... I want to mention something about the songwriting, his songwriting thing that he started up on Mondays. Miriam and I tried on Monday nights to do an open mic for songwriters, and he came to the first one. And I noticed, and I'm sure he did, and others noticed, that the way I thought of it was to feature 4 of them and let them each play like a half-hour set. But I noticed, and I'm sure he picked up on it right away, he's very astute, Drew is. And he's
We're talking about Drew Coomer.
He's very creative. He's abundant with talent. He's a writer. He does all this stuff. So I wasn't surprised that he come up with the idea of having a circle of them together where they could all play. See, with the way I was doing.
Swap
and I even told Miriam that would limit them if I had an open mic where they couldn't all play. And I also don't have all my Mondays available. Monday's usually my day off. It's one of my only night off. One of
Well,
yeah.
So sorry to put you to work here.
Yeah. Oh, this is during the day. This is
Yeah. Well, you're not playing guitar, so I wouldn't call it.
Hey, there's
work.
one sitting right over
Yeah,
there.
hey, I got a drum set here too if you want to jam.
Yeah.
But,
That sounds like a good idea.
yeah. But that's cool. Yeah, the first Mondays. That was a really cool. I went to one of them, and I think you were the one that actually told me about it.
Yeah, I told a bunch of them about it because I thought that was a really great idea that Drew came up with that would keep that idea going about maybe the open mic. I thought that was very, very cool that he came up with a in the round thing because I didn't really think of that. And like I said already, it was Monday nights was difficult for me to know when I could be there. But I did go to one just for the first time this month when Ryan Roth started doing it. I was in there. I stopped in.
Yeah.
The thing I'm interested in is to see who I could have when I go there, see who I could have. Because even though I wasn't going on Mondays, I was watching by the pictures and that who was in there.
Yeah.
And some of them have had concerts and there was some that haven't. So my interest, and I told Miriam and Ryan recently, is if there's someone that has at least a good hour of music that hasn't had a concert, to hit me up, let me know.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it was a really cool networking opportunity for me.
Yeah.
I met a lot of songwriters in the area,
Mm-hmm.
and then part of the reason why I'm playing on Saturday is just because I went to that first Mondays and I met Craig Ackerman.
Yeah, Craig.
And,
he's
the one that contacted me about playing this gig on Saturday.
I really like Craig James. I like him a lot. Don't want to say who my favorites are, but I like a lot of them. And when he did his show over at Musical Round like yourself, it would be hard for me to explain to people how good so many of them are. It's staggering to me how good they are. And a lot of people will say that when they see the little clips or stuff, or if they caught any of the show or they've heard from other people. So this concerts has really, I didn't know this when I started them, but the concerts have really helped community because the whole retro roots, there's a group of them that do the retro roots music, you know, Vester Fry, Ryan Roth, Booley Crosser. They play that older style.
Yeah.
And I think that's so cool. I actually did that 11 years ago. I had a duo that did that kind of music. We were called Lucky Brother, where I had a foot drum, rack harp, and a guitar, and I had an upright bass player that played the slapping that. So we made a recording too, actually. Yeah. And it's of that style. So
did you have the kick pedal on the guitar case thing?
No, I didn't do that. I had the fortune of knowing a guy at the music store that built me a custom drum, and it was a real nice one too. So I've thought about that. Yeah. I laughed when I seen Ryan Roth doing that the first time.
It seems like a lot of the Americana sort of genre have that going on now.
My loving nickname for the music is retro roots. Yeah. Because it's stuff that I heard years ago that people were doing, but now because of this day and age, it has its own viability now in our society where they're doing the way they're dressing and stuff. If they're wearing bib overalls or what they do, a lot of them maybe have beards. It's the visual parts of it is there too that people see because by booking myself, I pay attention to marketing and like how they present themselves. The guy down at Van Ness Timeout, Dean, he really likes that. I can tell by the artists that he books. So it being a business and us all trying to find work, you pay attention to that stuff. You know, that's a great thing. I think it's great.
Do you think the retro roots revival do you think that's due to just where they're getting influenced by the older music and stuff?
Because I've talked extensively with a few of them, especially Justin Fry, who goes by the stage name Vester Fry.
Yep.
When he was working at a restaurant I was playing at, him and I had discussions about that, and his knowledge about some of the older artists was like very commendable. I was like, wow, this kid knows a lot about a lot of different older artists, and some real obscure ones too.
Yeah, he's got some cool storytelling that he does too when he plays, and he's always kind of got like a backstory for a lot of his songs where they came from. And
he's one of them that has a very, I want to say maybe a natural, entertaining quality about his presentation. You know, they're all different in their own way. You know, some are quieter, some are, more outspoken. Craig's sort of quiet. You know, he'll say what he says, but like Justin has more of a, because he works in restaurants and works with people, he's got more of an maybe outward way about his personality. And I noticed it right away, like the first or second time I caught his show. Yeah. So
yeah, me and Justin ended up on the same open mic circuit for a week when like we had like 4 days in a row we saw each other. Like, oh hey, how you doing? It's good to see you again.
I love that guy.
Yeah.
He's just a ball of energy, and he picks up. What I laugh about is I've joked with him before. Well, do you play a slow song? Because all the songs are,
well, especially when he gets the banjo out.
Oh yeah, that good old Mountain Dew, man. Yeah. But it's just
he's a lefty now, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a southpaw, man.
Yeah.
And what's great is he's just putting that energy like that out, and that's no matter what style of music you play. A lot of people will nowadays at this point in time, that makes him feel good, and he knows that, That's great.
Yeah, very cool. So, I noticed you have an album coming out. Songs for the Motherland? Was that the title?
I'm real happy with this. I was able to hook up with this young engineering, I want to say wizard, that went to Bowling Green University named Travis Guyman. He's got a studio in Maumee called Bigfoot Studios.
Okay, yep.
And I just went in there and I just felt instantly just at ease with him. He's got a real chilled, his personality is like my son Rylan. He's got a real chilled, calming way about him. So when I'm around him, it just seemed natural, and eventually it didn't take very long. Everything got, all 15 tunes were just like clicking a finger, putting them down.
Very cool. So did you already have all the songs written ahead of time?
I've been fortunate in the last 3 years to get 47 of my original songs recorded in the last 2.5 years.
Wow.
At 2 different studios. Eric Sills at Stone Soup has helped me record. I made 2 recordings called the Stone Soup Sessions and then the Stone Soup Sessions 2, which they came out in 2016, 2017. This new one's going to have 15 songs on it. And I still have more songs.
Was this a backlog of a lot of years of recording, or is it?
Yes. The very first song I ever wrote. The first song I ever written. Yeah, let me start talking like that. The first song back in the late 70s was a love song, sort of. And I didn't release it till last year on Stone Soup Sessions 2. It's called Loving You. It's not a... Back then, it was just in my early 20s, every guy or female that doesn't know what love is about yet, sort of, they have that curiosity about what would happen if they was able to be in that situation and how they would learn to deal with loving someone. And that's what the song was about. It was
kind of that adolescence.
In a way, yeah. It's about thinking of how, without knowing it, sort of, how you would be if you had the opportunity of loving someone. Because we all know love has a few different music in regards to love has a few different ways about it. You know, you can love music, you can love friends now. as I mentioned earlier, some like Drew and Ryan and all them guys, I love those guys. And it has a lot to do with the fact that we have, have music in common. They're very creative. They're learning or are already good businessmen, Mm-hmm. For you to play, you have to know, you have to have some business, I think in some cases, some business knowledge.
Yeah.
I
A
think
little
you do.
bit. It's tough for a lot of musicians, though. It's like a lot of people have that creative brain, and that business brain just doesn't match with it. But
I'm doing my best as maybe the uncle a little bit sometimes to, when I get it's hard to talk to some other artists in a way, but when the door opens a little bit, I'm ready to put my arm around their shoulder and tell them what I've been through a little bit, to maybe in the hopes that it might help them.
Oh, that's awesome! It's always great to share your experiences with people, and if you can give them an idea of what to do, or give them some advice.
It's very important.
Yeah.
It's to the point now where when I play places, because I'm getting booked pretty frequently at a number of places, I tell the managers about the other younger ones. I do. I tell them about them. I tell them I feel strongly that I remember back when I was their age, feeling of getting the opportunity to do what you do. And I remember that, and I'm trying to make it so some of the venue places know not to overlook them. Give them, it's their, could be their time in the light,
Yeah.
We should all have that
booking is tough, I think. And, a lot of venues seem to get swamped with emails and everything coming in. So, a lot of times I feel like booking gigs, and it's easy to get ignored, it seems like. So
I would, I'm saying this looking at you because I'm thinking of you when I say this. I say it, when I've done these concerts and I look at all of them, I remember what my mind was going through when I was younger, trying to get my music heard, and maybe even more at times trying to get something for what I do, because talent is worth something. It is worth something. Music heals people.
Yeah.
It really can take that. It can take them back to a good point in their life when they hear maybe a certain song. It's just, to me, it's remarkable the power of music. I want to say, though, when I say that about music, I don't worship music. Music is part of my life. I have a family and wife and 2 children, but I don't worship it. I play it. I put it out to other people, like I said earlier, as a servant, but I want to make it clear, I don't worship music. If something happened tomorrow where my hands wouldn't work, I would find something else creative to do with my life. I would miss it, but I would.
It's not your whole world.
It's not my whole world. Yeah. No, I think riding my 10-speed bike, for one example, is something just as fulfilling to me as playing a guitar in a lot of cases.
Yeah,
it doesn't affect other people when I'm. Well, in a way, it does, because if I go down the street, we'd have to see my bike.
Oh yeah, a lot of heads turning.
Yeah, it's high. I'm a tall guy. I'm 6'1", so I'm sitting on the bike. I don't have it's a 10-speed, but it's not got the original. It's got like higher handlebars on it.
Oh, okay.
So if I pull up like to a UPS truck or something, I'm like up there. I like they look over at me like, hey,
Oh, that's cool.
And I see a lot at this day and age riding around the city with the way humanity has changed. And I know I'm leaving music when I'm talking about this right now, but as an artist and as a person who takes energy in from other people, I pay attention to a lot of different things, like what people are maybe saying on the internet. Maybe not as much politically. I've only written. I just posted it up last night.
I saw that.
I've only written one political tune, and the reason for that being is I heard all that, and as I grew up playing music, I felt I heard enough about, a revolution or,
a lot of the political music from the 60s
down with whatever,
and 70s.
down with that, I don't know why, I just didn't feel in general, Mark, that was a good, positive way of putting music out there. Nothing against. I think the song that I could relate to the most was Ohio by Neil Young, and it had to do with
That was the
young people
Kent
getting
State.
killed. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was very dramatic for many of us. And I was young enough. All I knew is that 4 young people died, and it impacted a lot of us. But as a musician, I've never had the natural feeling of wanting to express myself lyrically about anything to do with politics.
Yeah.
It never seems like a positive thing to me. But this song came about because I saw on the internet a video of what looked like it was going to be a riot in Chicago at the convention for Clinton and Trump. And I'm 60 years old. Well, I wasn't at the time, but I saw that. I went, a riot at a presidential convention? Where are we standing at now in the world?
Yeah, it's a weird time.
And that song just poured out of me.
Yeah.
The lies are like potholes in the road. That was a good line.
Yeah.
I thought it was.
No, that's
The lies
that was
are like
a
potholes.
really cool song. It was what's it? Loose.
Running Loose.
Running Loose.
It's another.
Now is that going to be on the new album?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
The new album's going to have, probably more than ever, a more serious side to it in a way. Not as upbeat. It's going to be more of a.
With the recording process, let's get into that a little bit. Is it mostly solo stuff, or do you have other musicians jumping in on it? Or?
This was all, because of the way the songs are written, this was all myself doing the vocals, the guitar, and some overdubbed guitar.
So did you do
basic.
most of the takes live with guitar and singing at the same time? Or was
Some
it
of them
separate.
It was a mixture.
Yeah.
I learned in the last 2 years recording at both places that Eric Sills suggested to me, because I know Eric a long time, and everybody knows how well his studio's going and how his recorded work that he's coming out with is in my personal opinion is great. I mean, he's got a good ear for it. He's got a really top quality.
He's running. Is it Stone Soup?
Yeah. Out there in Maumee.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about those guys.
I've known him many years. Was in a band with him and everything. And he at one point when we were doing a session at his place said, "Tim, you might have to play more songs where you play the guitar and do the vocal." And I think he was right, due to the fact that when I'm playing, my voice is wavering a little bit when I'm singing, even though I've always been my entire life a live musician. I tell everybody that. I'm a live musician. You see me and hear me every time all at once. And so I had to learn how to do that. I had to practice a little bit. And it
Just
turned
to
out,
stay on mic a little bit better?
yeah, and to have my pitch better, because I found out years ago from Gene Parker that I have perfect pitch. So I can hear if my voice is off. And that really irritates me, because when I'm singing, it's different. But if I hear a recording that I made and I hear my voice is off, that really bothers me. And it's to the point where over the years, up until recently, I hardly ever listen to my music. Ever. But the last 3 recordings, especially this new one, I'm really getting a lot more comfortable as an artist and in a discerning way of listening to myself.
Yeah.
And I think I need to do that now.
That's a tough thing. It's kind of like holding a mirror up that's, you can't hide from that.
I know.
It's really... I get the same thing doing this podcast. I'm like, I hear myself talking, and I'm like, I don't like the sound of my voice. And,
Same here.
It's like...
Same here.
But, I think everyone struggles with hearing themselves. And even, famous comedians and stuff will talk about, I can't watch my specials.
Yeah.
And, people don't like to see themselves. But,
It's an artist thing, but last year in September I turned 60 years old, and there's a lot of things that as you approach the final quarter of the game, I'm starting to think a little differently about different things. I'm more interested in having fun where I play. And I've always enjoyed trying to have fun when I play music. But like this new recording, people would not listen to it and not say that it was in general fun. There's a couple songs on there. I wrote one endearing one about my wife that I've been playing around. It's called Sweetie Pie, that is getting a very, very positive response, especially from the female clientele at where I play, like at the wineries and different places. My music seems to do well, the best with females. Just, I don't know how to explain
That's good.
that.
Then that brings in the males too. So.
Yeah, because at the wineries, they walk in and, I do like that song, and they know it's about my wife, and they just, you can tell the energy that they get from that. It could be about them, see? Yeah. And
and bonus points for your wife too.
Yeah.
Or for you.
It's funny. The song's funny because if she's not in the audience, there's breaks in the song where I imitate her voice telling me to put the dishes away and go put your dishes away. Would you pick up your shoes? And they all start laughing.
Yeah.
But when she's in the audience, I don't do them breaks.
Oh.
And I originally did it on the recording, and I took it home.
I was going to say, did you put it on recording?
I did,
like that?
and I got home, and she goes, I don't want that on there. Okay.
Yeah.
But I did also explain to her, I said, you got to understand, that's the sort of the point of the song, is to hear me singing about Sweetie Pie, but they still get to hear that little bit of what makes any human being, a husband or wife, not perfect.
Right.
It's about that. It's sort of about imperfection. And, and another thing, too, is she comes out where I play, and, as a person who does what I do, people are all coming up to me, and, you know what I'm saying? She sees that I'm getting a lot of attention, and I think what's great about her, one of the many things, is she's very cool about that, and she totally understands my job, and she's supportive about it. She knows what I'm on earth to do.
Yeah.
And I love her beyond words for that.
Yeah, very cool.
Just like I mentioned about not worshiping music, I know that my music and my life wouldn't be the same without her and a few other people that have had a major role in my life.
Yeah. Very cool.
I could talk for a while about my wife, by the way.
Yeah. Hey.
Yeah, she's cool.
No, that's really cool.
She's a little fireball.
I want to ask you about just to change subjects a little bit. So I'm kind of in the stage of I started as a drummer, but I've been playing guitar for quite a while. But the solo acoustic thing is pretty new to me. I've only been doing that for I don't know, 6 or 8 months now. But I've been doing a lot of the open mic circuits, and I'm trying to transition into doing some paid gigs. Mm-hmm. But I'm struggling with the idea of there's a lot of cover gigs, but the original gigs. Do you get to play a lot of original gigs with solo acoustic, or is it a lot more cover? Gigs?
I would say percentage. It's a lot me doing more familiar music.
Yeah,
Toledo.
That seems to be what audiences want. Is something that they know.
Toledo's a brown-eyed girl city.
Yeah,
and it has been for years. I just got requested to do it 3 days ago. But at this point in my life, the way I'll respond to that is it's a blend for me. Like I said about Sweetie Pie, there's a few tunes that when I lead into them, I tell them, well, this is a song I wrote about my grandmother, and they look up. Oh, this is a song my dad likes. It's about Oreo cookies. I sort of have a way of giving them a little bit of those that are listening, of course. People aren't listening like they used to. They're busy on their phones and I've got a song about it. I got a song called You Can't Hear the Band When You're Looking at Your Hand. It's coming on the new recording. My wife, by the way, my wife does not like the song, but people who are staring at their hands when you're playing it provoked a song. Yeah. And I think it's one of my best songs.
No, I like that line. That's funny.
Yeah. And but anyway, getting back to playing originals, I've always liked both. I have the fortune of loving both. But I do now discern what songs I'm going to play that are by other people a lot more than I used to. I have to resonate with them like I do sort of with my own songs.
So does Is the most requested one seem to be like the Brown Eyed Girl, or do you get play
Lately,
some Skinnerd a lot? Or
for a while it was Sweet Home Alabama. I could,
yeah.
Mark. I could, yeah, Brown Eyed Girl, Mustang Sally. Now it's Tennessee Whiskey, and what's the other one? That's just, you get on Facebook and you see a lot of different people playing that song. I'm bold enough to say to any of the young ones, it has pretty much already been done.
Yeah.
All the old standards that have, maybe 10 to 20 different chords in them that go to different key centers, it's pretty much all been done.
Yeah.
And I think Charlie Parker, the saxophonist, alto saxophonist, the way he played instrumentally over some of those chord changes that were to vocal standard songs that were in movies, that was, to me, astounding how he took those chord changes and wrote a more complex multi-note melody over them that you could almost, after a while, recognize and hum. You know?
Yeah.
That was, to me, that was one of the moments with jazz music that I was blown away when I heard Charlie Parker songs because of him doing that. And he's the best example because like John Coltrane and these other jazz musicians write their own music, where Charlie Parker didn't really write as much. He would write that melody or that line. You know, it's not something that somebody would sing, right? In most cases. But there were singers later like Toledo's John Hendricks that would put words to that. That's complex to me. Try to do that, you know?
Yeah.
Lately, that's what I've been trying to do. I've been playing more songs where I sing and play more of a sort of a more complex guitar accompaniment behind it with maybe a little bit of a moving bass line and stuff. I've been doing that the last couple years now.
Yeah.
Each song requires a lot of care and practice.
Yeah. Probably, especially if you're doing a lot of intricate stuff on the guitar, you know, singing along with that.
And then once the vocal's over, you have this moment right there in the moment where you're playing like a piano or guitar where there's bass, chord, notes, and melody. You have to think within a split second whether or not you want to solo and try to do something where you play a solo and then come back to where the vocal part is again.
Yeah.
And I can't get over the fact when I'm doing that lately how much my mind knows that moment's coming, Mark. It's on its way here, and here it comes. What am I going to do?
Yeah.
You know, that's the part that's probably the hardest, you know, the improvisation. But in a way, when you learn to improvise well after years of doing it, you don't think about it.
Yeah. Yeah, that comes into my mind every time I'm playing a song. I've been doing a lot of Sublime covers lately.
Oh, yeah.
And they seem to be pretty popular. But every time I get to a solo and I'm playing by myself, so there's no one else accompanying me, I'm usually like, should I play the solo or should I just play the chords? And then I get really nervous about playing the solo and I hit some weird notes.
Well, you said very nervous, but it's like, you know what a feeling. It's a simple way of telling exactly the same what I just said, the feeling. That's the moment when if you're not singing and the guitar that people are familiar with, when you go out on the what is it, the plank? You go out on the plank on the boat then. Right. And you're standing there. Do I jump in the water or I go back where it's safe on the boat?
Yeah.
That's what it is to me in a way. You know what? Lately, I'll jump off the plank.
Yeah.
You know, and it might be just me playing single notes. I also have the ability.
Sometimes I jump off the plank and just decide to drown. That happens sometimes. And
that's a learning
And then
process.
I laugh and I say, hey, we're on to the next song.
You learn with the only way you learn with is a decent percentage of failure involved.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only way you learn.
Yeah.
I do scatting. I can do like a trumpet sound. I can whistle. I can do a trumpet sound. I use a kazoo. I have different ways of producing sound with my voice when I'm playing the guitar.
Yeah.
A lot of the places I play during the day at the senior nursing homes, they like trumpet and they're like trombone or stuff. So if I'm playing the guitar and over the mic.
Yeah.
It's,
Get a little trumpet melody going.
It's another way of me jumping off the plank because I don't know what notes I'm going to do that with.
Now, do you ever use the harmonica?
Yes, a lot. I forgot to mention the harmonica.
Yeah.
And I play the harmonica in more than one way. There's more than one way to play one diatonic harmonica. You can blow the notes out, what I call the campfire style, where you play, dee, 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 on a harmonica.
Uh-huh.
When you inhale them and draw them, it's what's called second position, where you're playing blue tones. It's like more of a blues sound. It's what all the blues harmonica players usually do. And then the third way I use what's called third position, where I know a range within a diatonic harmonica that I draw in on that sounds like it's in a minor key. So, for instance, if I play a song that's in the key of G, I'll use an F diatonic harmonica and play those notes that I've learned on that instrument that sound like it's in a minor key.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool to be able to have three ways to play on the same harmonica over one key center.
Yeah.
You have a choice,
No, that sounds really cool. I don't know, I'm a little bit in deep water there with the notes and stuff. I'm very much a by ear guitar player, but I mean, I guess that's just not having learned it yet.
I teach, by the way.
Yeah.
Mark, I teach a little bit. Lately, I should say that, and I'm laughing when I'm saying it, but in a way, I'm serious because I started back teaching after about 7 years, I think, of being away from it. I officially told people I was retiring, but there's a couple younger guys that have compelled me because of their talent and their personalities, and one older man who's a father of a former student. They've all twisted my arm a little bit to where I'm teaching them again. So I'm teaching, but I'm not teaching, like, I guess, openly. I'm taking on students that, I'm trying to be very discreet about it. Yes, so I'm being very selective about who I want to teach it. And I think what it has to do with is them having enough ability already, like you, for instance. You would be someone that I would consider teaching just because if there was a few things, like with chords or some other stuff that would add to what you want to do with your music, if I can be part of that, that's great.
That would be great. So when you do lessons, do you generally do them out of your house or do you go wherever?
I have a really nice little nook style area in our kitchen. It's perfect for 2 chairs. It's really quiet, and it's a one-on-one thing. What's working even before I stopped that I still do is they bring their phones and they video me. I love that.
I was going to say, have you thought about maybe doing like a YouTube channel with instructional videos, or is that...
That's too time-consuming for me, in a way. Yeah, I've thought about that.
But once you get a lesson up, then you can teach anybody who clicks on your video.
That's what I do not want. I want to keep it down to a low amount. I have my performing career.
Yeah.
I have enough practicing that I have to do and enough business that I have to do on the internet that's keeping me plenty busy.
Yeah.
Then I have to, with my home and with my life with my wife, there's a lot of other things that I do because she works during the day, I'm around during the day, that are naturally expected to be done.
Right.
Yeah,
I was just curious. It seems like YouTube's one of those places where you can go to learn anything now. Like if I got to fix something on my car, I'll YouTube video it.
I'll say this, though. I'll say this about guitar lessons as a teacher, and I've heard other people that have agreed with this that have taken lessons or have had lessons with me. There's nothing like being in the same room with someone else who knows how to help you in a direct way. It's not the same as looking at a video. The videos can show you things, but to be right there with somebody and have someone explain something to you if you possibly don't understand.
Maybe specific to what you're doing wrong. Or,
yes.
And then it's probably more impactful, too, just to have somebody... And you can probably remember things a little bit better when you're actually talking to a person.
Then one of the most important things to me, you can get a friend from it.
Yeah.
That's the thing about...
Make more connections.
The internet. Lately, I decided, because so many people know me as a musician that I may not know, I have discreetly decided to make sure that I in person meet somebody first before I friend them on my personal page. I sort of want to know who they are.
Yeah.
And what's great about the internet as well is it's a means of you collecting friends or collecting people in your life that can be positive people in your life. When they friend me, I see their name, and then it comes up again, and then it comes up again, and then something gets said, and I put that I maybe put that I like it. They see that I see that. So that makes the relationship develop even on the internet. And then when I see them next, hey, how you doing, Mark? Wow, that's really cool that you have that podcast. I saw the one you did with so-and-so, you know?
Yeah.
I use it that way. I don't.
Yeah, it's a really good way to connect with people, I think. And
I think
as you were saying too, with venues, you know,
People will say what they want about Facebook or social media, but from a business standpoint and from a standpoint of me personally, every week on my job, my chosen line of work, probably 15 to 20 people, new people I get to meet. I love that.
Yeah.
I love the opportunity of meeting people, socializing with them in person or on there, learning from them. They might say something on there that I might see that I'll go, oh, wow, I never thought of it that way.
Yeah.
But I'm not a fan of some of the stuff that people do on there, you know, as
Well,
far
it's really
as.
easy to be negative, I think, on the
Yeah.
internet because you don't have
I
that
don't-
face-to-face
I want-
contact with people. You don't have to be held accountable for everything.
I go as far as to make, now I've come up with recently ideas making little promotional videos because people, the attention span's a lot shorter. So I just figure I'll make these and let people know. And I'm a goofball. I'm just on there sometimes just acting. I can laugh at myself. And actually, when I make some of them, I look back and I do laugh a little bit because I want people not to take me really that serious. I'm an entertainer, and
Yeah.
I want them to see that if they think what I'm doing stupid or you know something they'd never do, that's fine, you know. But I like to have fun. I want to have fun when I'm doing it. I can't. At this point, I don't want to take myself all that serious.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to.
And it kind of gives people a glimpse of, you know, more of a fun human side to yourself, or you're not putting on some sort of fake character or anything. You're just being yourself.
No, and that's probably why I made a post a week ago about. I wrote a little thing about why I'm not cool. I've never been cool. Just so you know, I've never been cool. I never.
Well, what is cool? I think that's something for teenagers.
Yes, but cool can also be partially related to an artist or musician. In our case, as to how their demeanor is about themselves and how they want to be taken, and if they're in a way trying to prove themselves to other people or other artists. That's never been the case with me.
Yeah.
Even when I was younger singing ZZ Top songs and different stuff, I've just always really looked for joy and fun out of it. Mm-hmm. Not to say I'm not serious. When I practice and stuff, I'm very serious and stuff, and I have music like on the new recording that's of a serious nature. But I think as an artist, it's a balance of the two. But my scale leans more in just wacky, zany, just having fun. Having fun.
Yourself.
Jim Carrey, for instance, that kind of thing. Pee Wee Herman, it's just it's something I gravitate to. I watched a lot of cartoons when I was a kid.
Well, and I think that relates more today. The people. Oh, sounds like we got a lawnmower happening.
Cool.
Sounds like people today, they want to relate to people more, and they want realness out of people rather than that rock star on a podium type thing. So I
wrote a song way too serious about the subject.
Yeah,
and it's a song.
Is that the irony in it?
Yes, it's just about the fact that I'm not actually being way too serious when I'm singing the song. It's the rubber band in a sense effect where I'm singing about how I got nothing left to prove. It doesn't matter what I say. I kind of get this feeling when I hear you sing and play that you're way, way too serious. how you go out and you see how they're really trying to create a very cool, serious vibe when they're playing. And I don't know why. It doesn't seem to work with me.
Yeah.
I want people to see.
I think that's kind of going out of style, it seems like now.
I think my goal is for people to see me having the time of my life, especially at my age. I want them to be.
Sounds like a pretty good goal.
Yeah.
So.
Because as I get older and stuff, I want people to maybe if that rubs off on them, or if that's something that they need that moment in their life, if they need a little, even if it's a serious song and it makes them think about something in a positive way, how much political stuff sucks, for instance. That's maybe as an artist, that's one of my goals.
Yeah.
And I think for the most part, I've done my best to try to achieve that,
Yeah. No, I think you've done great. I really like what you're doing. Sounds like the landscaping crew's here. Let's wrap this up, man.
Yeah.
Tim Oehlers, it's been fun. Where can we find your music?
I have a YouTube page, a Reverb Nation webpage. I have one on SoundCloud, and then you can always find me on Facebook. Lately, like I said, I've been making some here and there. I'll make some little videos.
And then look for Songs of the Motherland? Songs from the Motherland?
And you can also find any of the up-close concerts at the Performance Arts webpage on YouTube, or Facebook, under the name Up Close Concerts. It shows all the upcoming shows.
Yep.
So
Very cool.
Get on there.
All right. Well, thanks so much. It's been fun. Great conversation.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Mark.